This is Fantology.
You may have heard of us.
All right, what's up, fantasy fans? This is Steven, your host. I have Josh, my lifelong friend, along with me. And this episode is going to be a little bit different. We're not reviewing anything specifically, but we are doing a world building exercise, talking through Josh's book slash series idea that he's been noodling around and thrown some, feelers out on our Discord channel for world building. And I'm going to kind of take the role of the host and interview. And Josh has even said he wants to kind of come up with the narrative a little bit. So we'll see how well we're able to write a plot outline in a podcast episode.
Yeah. And as a little bit of background, we do these, I don't know, maybe once or twice a year where we just kind of talk through some story ideas that we've been noodling around. I feel like each one of us kind of has an idea that we've been, had for a while that we like to talk through, use as kind of a book club. We also have a dedicated channel on Discord to talk and chat about these kind of things. And so, if you're new here, jump into Discord, come to that channel if you want to have like a book writing club of sorts. And yeah, so that's just a little bit more background on this episode.
Nice. Okay, so give us an overview of what the idea is, and then we'll talk setting, characters, etc., and just kind of go from there.
Yeah, so big inspiration from Dresden. I love the Dresden Files. You got me into it, Stephen. I believe in the summer of 2015 is when you got me into
Okay,
it.
got a year
Uh,
even. Okay.
yeah, well, it was the year I got married. So I was doing like a summer internship.
Okay.
It was kind of in a long term or long distance relationship of sorts at the time. So pretty much all I would do was go to work. I had about a 3 hour there and back train ride every day. So I'd pretty much just read Dresden, go to work, come back, read Dresden,
Hmm.
and knocked out. I think there were 13 books out at the time, 12 books out.
No, there
Um,
would have been 15 because Peace Talks and Battleground were 16 and 17,
oh, right.
and I just looked it up. Those came out in 2020.
And I know we've talked about this before, Stephen, but a big selling point of the series was that there was about a book a year coming out. And so you were like, you got
Yeah.
all these books and then you'll get a new book. And then, yep.
Yeah, a bit disappointing. I mean, up until that point, that was the track record, so you can't
Yeah.
can't fault me for
Can't
that.
fault you.
But
You
it
also
did
got me
it did
into,
slow down quite a bit, and but I think Jim Butcher actually just and posted on Twitter that the manuscript for the next book is done. I
nice.
can't remember which one is which. At one time I knew, but I think it might be the 12th Night book. Maybe I don't know. Don't quote me on this, but. Anyway, it's been a while since we were heavy in Dresden. Unfortunately, I mean that's the nature of when a book doesn't come out for several years, like you kind of forget these things.
Yeah. But anyway, so Dresden, pretty formative, I'd say, for my reading journey. And I've really liked other urban fantasy series as well. Recently, Alex Verus, we read and reviewed that on Fantology. And read other urban fantasy, young adults when I was a kid. And so
Hmm.
I've always had a soft spot for urban fantasy. And I've always wanted to come up with with a little spin on like what an urban fantasy story I could kind of write. Partly because it seems a little bit more approachable than like a epic fantasy in terms of actually writing it, less things to
Sure.
juggle, a little bit more
Right.
straightforward,
Shorter books, maybe.
shorter books. Yeah, you can, maybe 100,000 words as compared to,
Depending on how you do it.
hundreds of
Because
thousands.
so Greenbone Saga, I'd say, is an urban fantasy, kind of. I mean, it takes place in like fantasy Japan, but also, I mean, it's like in the city for I mean, it's like fairly modern
Yeah,
times.
I
I would call it urban fantasy,
I
but
I I'd say
yeah,
this is
it's a
more
little
like
bit different.
like a serialized modern fantasy,
Okay,
um,
urban serial
or
urban
a
fantasy.
serialized
Yeah.
urban fantasy, where it's
Okay.
like kind of each book is not standalone, but like more of like the narrative is more standalone-ish,
Okay.
where it's like a case of the week type thing. Um, Not, and I do hope that as I like if I were to, actually make progress on this, that I would kind of do what Dresden has done and have a bigger overarching narrative kind of
Hmm.
emerge. But
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
That is sometimes kind of divisive. Like some Dresden fans prefer the early days of the, case of the week or year or whatever. And once it started to kind of transition into more of like an epic feeling, felt like it kind of changed gears a little bit and wasn't what they first got into. But personally, I liked it. I'm always a sucker for you know, conflict gets bigger and bigger and the
Yeah,
characters grow and kind of get ready for that conflict. So, but
yeah.
some struggle with that.
I think Butcher's done a really good job of easing readers into it. But anyway, um, that would be a ways off, I think. I do have some ideas for how that could happen, which we can talk about a little bit later. But yeah, that's the background on how I've
Okay.
came to here. I've been trying to think about what kind of unique spin, not just Wizard and City does XYZ. So I think I
Right.
finally came up with my own little unique spin that I like. So
Right. Okay. So yeah, Wizard and City does XYZ has happened before in several different urban fantasies. So yeah, tell us about your idea. Why is it going to be different? What's the selling point?
yeah. Um, so the idea came to me uh, of so okay. There's a little bit of background. Um, I don't know if I think that aliens are among us or where I stand on that, but I really enjoy
Hmm.
that culture. Kind of. I like
You enjoy the alien
I,
culture.
I enjoy the alien culture.
Yes.
Jake and I on our like friends Discord about every few months, as soon as there's like new alien news, we argue vehemently about it and have so for most of our lives at this point. But
Hmm.
like because he's more he's a bigger skeptic than I am. Not that I'm
Uh-huh.
like full on believer or anything, but I like learning about that lore and stuff. Okay, so
You want to believe.
I want to believe, yes.
You want something to convince you to believe.
Yeah, we have
Okay.
the typical like Mulder Scully, kind of relationship going on there, I think. Um, so and Jake's not here to defend himself, unfortunately.
Mm.
But anyway, so I've always thought that was kind of missing a little bit from like urban fantasy is like the alien aspect,
Okay.
they a lot more of them will focus on like the typical vampires, werewolves and all
Yeah.
that, which I think will have
Usually bring in some like elements of
like
historical, mythical
yeah,
beings,
wh-
stuff like
which
that. Yeah.
which
Uh-huh.
I think will be in mind. But anyway, for those of you that are completely uninitiated in the alien lore, um, Vegas, Nevada, kind of the whole southeast, I'd say, is kind of a quote unquote hotbed for like alien activity,
Mm.
like reportings and sightings of UFOs. And specifically like Area 51 is outside Vegas.
Right.
And so my idea and I've also lived in Vegas. Ben lives in Vegas. I'm in Vegas every couple months. My work is headquartered in Vegas. Um, so I know Vegas
Mm.
well. And so I was like, oh, I I know Vegas well. Vegas is an interesting city and a very I'd say a very unique city in terms of just the world, in terms of the tourism aspect, the you know it's a really it's a really fascinating city for a lot of reasons.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, I could base
Many are
this series.
fascinated by it. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. For
Um,
different reasons.
for
Uh-huh.
different
Yep.
reasons, but that's what makes it so unique is like
Okay.
there's the partying aspect of it, there's the clubs, there's the nightlife, and then it's also a huge like suburban metro area, and there's a lot of industry, and there's the gambling, and there's the mob has a lot of roots in it, and it was settled by the Mormons, and so there's like a lot of really cool like aspects to Vegas.
Mm.
Um, and so anyway, so you have that. And then also a big part of Vegas, as I was just talking about all the subcultures, is there's a pretty big Air Force base in Vegas that employs a lot of people.
Right. They need
And
the base there so when the aliens come,
exactly,
they can fight them off
which this
or
a
welcome them in either way.
little bit of both, a little bit of both. Um,
Or I mean, heck, they've probably been doing it for some time, right?
yeah,
According to how much
exactly.
of a believer you are. Okay,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying. A little bit of both.
Right, right, right.
There's
Yep.
definitely yeah some
Okay.
welcoming and some fighting going on. So so then I was thinking and this is kind of where the genesis of like, okay, this might actually be a fun idea to write about is we have a mutual friend, Amber, who's on our Discord as well. and her husband is a chaplain in the military. Uh, and so then the idea came to me of like how cool it would be if like and this is at all not to like disparage chaplains, so like don't get the wrong idea, and I want to address this like somewhat sensitively in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
sensitive way, and so I haven't really thought about how to do that. But how cool it would be if like the chaplain program in the military was like the military's kind of like supernatural uh,
Mm,
wing of like they deploy
okay.
the chaplains to go fight
It's the
the
cover for the
yeah
international. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so they deploy
Mm,
chaplains to where there's like, supernatural activity, and the chaplains are trained to
mm,
combat that's like the
okay.
US's
Okay.
government answer to how to address supernatural activity. So that's kind of the genesis of the idea is we have a chaplain living on Nellis Air Force Base in Vegas that is confronting the supernatural.
Mm.
And you got
How close is the base to other parts of Vegas? Like, is it feasible for someone to live there but also access all
Yeah.
these other parts of
Yeah.
Vegas?
When I lived in Vegas, I lived pretty close to the Air Force Base. I'd say, depending on traffic, it's like a 20 to 40, maybe 25 to 45-minute drive
Mm,
down to like downtown Vegas.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, so, and maybe I could like Google,
Mm,
I would probably want to map that out and get my routes a little
sure.
bit
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
tighter, but from memory, that's about, yeah, how
I'm
long it would
just
take.
I'm just kind of picturing, Harry Dresden has his apartment, and then from there he always goes to different locations around Chicago.
Yeah. And
And
he could have like a safe house
yeah, yeah,
downtown or something,
right. And yeah,
have
there
like
could
even
be
like a
certainly reasons that, make it all work. And
he
yeah.
could be partnered with one of the hotels there and have like a
Hmm.
suite at one of the hotels that he works out of or
Right,
something.
right, right. I
Yeah.
mean, this is part of the government, so
Yeah.
anything goes really.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so then like other ideas I've noodled around with it is like, different types of vampires usually do like so different vampires or different supernatural activity could be like controlling the
Mhm.
different parts of Vegas, like the gambling and the more lustful activities that go on, the
Right. You
nightlife.
mentioned
Yeah.
like this using the seven deadly sins
Yeah, I think that
as
was a Discord uh,
different, yeah,
idea. Yeah, and I like that idea. Yeah, but
whatever they are. Lust, greed, sloth,
gluttony.
and envy, gluttony. Yeah, help us
Yeah,
out with the other seven. But anyway, so each of those seven could represent like a different faction of vampires or a different like set of enemies of some kind.
yeah.
And each
So
then is like based in different parts of Vegas. Like you could use the new the black hole that the big Raiders stadium over there.
yeah,
And you could use the what is the
this
circular, like the
the
cool,
sphere. Yeah,
yeah, the sphere could be some, yeah, okay, yeah. Lots of iconic like locations, and some, I mean, those are both like new locations, but I think already fairly iconic.
yeah. And there's tons. There's the fountain. I'm forgetting the name of the
Hmm.
fountains, but there's
It's the Bellagio fountains.
There's the Villaggio. Yeah, the Villaggio fountains.
Yeah.
There's the geez, now I'm forgetting all the, but like the Spire.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the Vegas uh
Hmm.
like
You're gonna have to spend a lot
skyline.
of time researching all these
Yeah.
the different places.
Yeah, then I'm just really bad at names, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um yeah, and you have some other cool like Mount Charleston is right outside of Vegas, the Red Rock
Mm,
um National Forest, it's right outside of Vegas.
right.
Um and so you have some cool, areas surrounding, not to mention like
Hmm.
Area 51. Um
Yeah, I hope so far in our conversation people have conjured images of both Men in Black and The Hangover.
that's kind of what I want to go for. A little bit of silliness. Uh, but yeah, so that's
Okay.
kind of the genesis of it. I would definitely be leaning into the tropes of like the urban fantasy tropes of the supernatural and the vanquish the person going about vanquishing and kind of
Hmm. Hmm.
gets more and more pulled into the has to confront the darkness within and stuff like that.
Sure. So the main character, army chaplain, and this person is like have you spent much time with a character creation, motives, backstory, and all that, or like what
No,
do you want to chat about most in all of this?
yeah, not really a ton. I want him to be like younger, and Amber helped kind of come up with that timeline a little bit of what's really feasible for chaplains. So it'll probably be like mid to late 20s. Probably be his first deployment, having been there for a couple of years, kind of establishing
Mm,
himself. But I want him to start off, I'm thinking a little bit like newer to the scene. Um,
okay.
Backstory, yeah, I don't have a ton of ideas. Um, I don't think I really want to go like the chosen one route necessarily. I don't think there's
Okay.
anything like innately special about him. Um,
Mm,
at least that I don't really have a great idea for it now, so that might change
uh-huh.
if I do, if inspiration strikes. But yeah, just kind of a run-of-the-mill person who, and I don't want it to be too much of like an author insert character, but like, run-of-the-mill guy who, uh, I think I think I would go the route of gets interested in the supernatural and then like go to, and that's kind of how he gets into that side of things. So maybe he like uncovers before he, applies to that the chaplains are, you know, are the men in black type people and
Mm.
goes that route.
Okay, so he doesn't know what he's getting
No,
into.
he does. He
That's
does.
it.
So he
He
finds
does.
that out,
Okay.
which is why he
Oh,
applies to be
okay.
a chaplain. Yeah.
Okay. So some backstory, some, I don't know, maybe some tragic backstory, something or whatever. He gets into this, pulled into it. So how are you planning on addressing faith in this series? Because I really like how Dresden does it, where it becomes a big part of it, but it's very there's different characters that kind of believe in God or believe in religion in different ways, and like this is powerful for them,
Yeah.
and there's no like no author like pushing one way or the other, but the different characters have kind of demonstrated that this does different things for them.
Pretty similar. And that's actually, I should have mentioned that Michael in the Dresden Files is probably my favorite character. I really, really like his character. And so
Mm,
that was one of the things is trying to write like an early Michael type character.
okay.
Um, so the idea, I'm still noodling around like the magic system, but I think it's going to be like basically being able to like tap into like the beyond or whatever I choose to call it. Like,
Mm,
but just have it be like kind of a softer magic system. And faith is like a good way that people can tap into it. And and again, have it be a little bit softer, have it be a little bit like, oh, you can like touch the beyond and influence events and maybe have like some cantrips he knows, but nothing like super powerful.
okay.
And then different supernatural beings and aliens could be could have closer connections to it.
Mm,
I'm thinking kind of like, I don't want to give spoilers for the three body problem, but like if you know like the third book in that, how it deals with like interdimension stuff, like basically have that be kind of the scientific background. I'm thinking is like if you're able to expand your mind enough that you can kind of like tap into kind of the fabric of reality a little
oh,
bit,
okay.
but not again,
If you
not have it
can
be like
if you can
super
get there,
scientific.
sure.
Yeah, but and
Okay.
have different ways of doing that. One of which is like a faith-based way of like being
Mm,
able to like open your mind to like different possibilities, and faith being a way that
mm,
people do that. And maybe like like aliens that have like a different conception of like
right.
the dimensions or can experience them in a different way are able to like access that you know
Mm,
in a different
okay.
way, uh, or whatever, the vampires or whatever have their own
Mm.
way of kind of touching it. But yeah.
One thing from Alex Ferris that I thought was cool and unique was that Alex himself was not necessarily a super powerful magic user. He was a diviner, a probability mage, and was able to use this ability to give himself enough advantage. So really, he was just very clever and
Yeah.
used this like one specific ability. It got to the point where, maybe it was a little repetitive because it was like always the thing that he had to do. But I thought that was maybe a little more interesting than, oh, we're just going to access the power source and we blast off the D&D spell and like,
Right.
some kind of unique take on magic is always fun.
Yeah. So I was thinking he would start off with maybe some cool like technology, that like maybe alien technology where like his
Mm,
his clothes or whatever are like can are like pretty much bulletproof, like indestructible. So like it's
okay.
unlikely that he'll
So
just be taken
government
out.
issued magic stuff for a
Yeah.
beginner chaplain who maybe doesn't have a lot of magical power yet.
Yeah. And then maybe something that he has that's kind of a secret to him. Like I was fascinated in like the Winter Soldier. You remember they have those like devices that can basically cut through like any matter. I don't know if you remember. That's how they like get out of the car when it's flipped over in the Winter
Mm,
Soldier. Anyway,
sounds familiar. Sure.
it,
Okay.
maybe he has a device that's like super powerful that can basically just like
Mm,
disintegrate like matter. So or like like can basically like a super like a shard blade kind of. I don't know. Like
okay.
can cut
So
through. So
maybe he's got something and he got this in his backstory or something,
yeah,
and this connected him into this whole world, and he's been able to keep it a secret, and now this is kind of like his go-to.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, he kind of has it in his back pocket. He doesn't want to use it a ton because he's pretty sure that like the military would like like get
Mm.
it from him or whatever. But
Okay.
he
Okay.
but
I
he
like that.
he he
Some tension right into the story where the thing that he needs to use to give himself a leg up is something that he can't necessarily be flashing around because the people that he works with and for will notice and he will get in trouble. I like that.
yep, a little bit of a so it's like in his back pocket, but doesn't necessarily want to use it
Mm.
unless it's
Okay.
like uh life or death situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
maybe he knows like a few cantrips, maybe like just small kind of spell, like not really spells, because I don't really think that's how I want the magic system to work, but like
Mm.
he can maybe touch the
A
beyond
few
enough to
ways
like,
to
yeah,
influence events, like just enough to give himself a leg up.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. So you definitely need to nail down what this cool object is, why it's forbidden, or why it should not be entrusted to a level one chaplain.
yeah, yep. I think it'll be something like, yeah, he found it when he was pretty into like the alien stuff, and he found it when he was on some adventure, and it's
Mm,
the government is very intense
okay.
about gathering up any alien tech that
Yeah.
falls. And
You could kind of go like a Guardians of the Galaxy angle, and he was abducted by aliens when he was a child, or like there was some,
yeah,
contact initially that set this up for
he
him.
helped, yeah, like maybe he helped like like there's a crash and he helped out or something, and they gave that
Mm,
to him as a
okay.
gift.
And
There's something like
Animorphs.
that. Yeah,
Now we're
Animorph.
going
Yeah,
now we're going
yeah.
to Animorphs.
He has a cube.
You,
Oh, what's that cube called?
yeah, it's just like the blue cube. I don't know if it ever
I
had
think
it
it has
written.
it. Come on, Steven.
The
The
Tesseract.
Tesseract.
Well, no, I
No,
mean
that's
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 Marvel's
Marvel. But
name,
yeah,
but
there's something.
I think they just called it the morphing cube always.
Fair enough.
But okay. The
Yeah,
Andalites probably had a real name for it. Maybe you find out later, but it's been a few years since Animorphs for me. But okay. So we've got a few inspirations there for character backstory, like how he's involved into the chaplain thing, and also some pieces of tension. So I like that. Okay. So this is a lot about our main character sidekicks or friends or love interests or like
yeah.
anything else to help, bounce some stuff off of.
So the one that I have that I am pretty sure I'm going to have be part of the story. I like it. Is he has a little alien sidekick guy, and maybe this is how he got the tech tech, but that can like change
Mm,
shapes a little bit. And to be quite frank, the inspiration for this was I was watching Lilo and Stitch with my kids.
Okay.
So so this isn't exactly highbrow, but
Sure, sure.
but the
I
alien
mean,
can like
every most stories are just like a compilation of all the other stories you've heard in your life, so it's
right,
fine.
right. So the alien can change shape. So it looks like it takes the shape of a little. I have a Cavapoo, a little straight hair Cavapoo. His name is Archie. I love him, but he's gonna take the shape of a little of Archie basically,
Okay.
and then he can communicate psychic. A big part of lore, like a foundational alien lore, in real life, quote unquote real life, is
Mm,
like that they can communicate telepathically,
okay.
and so
So thought
the
speak, going
so
back
yeah,
to Animorphs
so
still.
he can,
Yep, love it.
okay, I'm basically rewriting Animorphs. No, but so he can communicate with his little sidekick dog, and so everybody else just
Uh-huh.
thinks he has a dog, whereas he's
Yeah.
actually like a character that he's talking to.
So is this government slash employer issued, or is this also
Hmm.
something that he's like keeping secret from? Like that sounds pretty challenging
That
to,
sounds like I don't think he would be keeping this
yeah.
one secret
Okay.
necessarily from the government. I think that
Uh-huh.
they would have to know about him. So
So
maybe
that means there are some alien races that we have partnered with.
yes, yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
think that I don't think aliens will be super uncommon in this world. I think it'll be
Hmm.
like it won't be completely like I'd say with most things, kind of like in Dresden, um, enough people know about the supernatural world that it's not like uncommon for supernatural beings to be out and about doing things, right?
Okay. Fair enough.
And I know that changes like throughout this series, but like it'll be like the people that know would not be surprised um
Hmm.
that he's friends with the dog, or that the dog is an alien, I should
Okay.
say. Yeah.
Okay. So, and you also mentioned in some of the Discord thing, there was an idea that all of the monsters would be aliens, like the vampires could even be races of aliens. Are you liking that, or are you thinking no, they are just like vampires?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for right now. I think that it will just be kind of standard mythology. It could be that maybe that's how I still haven't decided. Maybe that like long like years ago there was like some
Mm,
interbreeding, and that's what led to the vampires, but like
okay.
some cross between like aliens and humans, you know.
Mm,
Um, but um, but I don't think that they'll just be like a species of aliens. I think it'll
mm,
be at least like partly human, you know.
okay. So this sounds like some things that could be setting up for a larger plot. We've got possibly ancient history slash lore of alien interacting with humans and rewriting history a little bit with, like a vampire offshoot. And that's if it's the vampires, then it would make sense that there's all kinds of other connections in this ways. And seems like some conflicts would emerge from all of this.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of where I need to figure out like um I think that his like assignment is to basically make sure like be on the front on the front lines of making sure that like the supernatural stuff that's going on in Vegas doesn't like bubble over into
Okay.
like standard life, into the muggle world per se,
Okay.
you know.
So there are like some tenuous peace agreements between some different supernatural slash alien slash vampire or other
Yeah.
factions, and he's like a peacekeeper role in that these different things are going to clash with each other or clash within themselves and cause massive damage otherwise, or maybe just like directly clash with some. I mean, I assume the mob. You mentioned the mob. Like the mob certainly knows about aliens, and
Oh
they've
yeah.
been using them. And we have that in Dresden with
I
Marcone and his
yeah.
people. So
I kind of like
yeah,
the mob idea of like they are the ones that like feed the alien tech and stuff to uh the contractor, like the government contractors, like Boeing and Northrop and stuff like that, is that's how they
Oh,
get the
okay.
tech. Because
Hmm.
right now, like the the mainstream alien theory is that the U.S. government hands off all the alien tech to like the contractors so that they don't have to get like get
Yeah,
FOIA requests and stuff because we don't have anything, it's all
right.
the contract, the military contractors are the ones that have
Right, right,
like,
right. You know,
so
I worked
I
for
know
Northrop
I was gonna
for
say you're
a few summers as an intern. I had a clearance and everything.
I know.
So I can't comment on
Can't, no,
this.
no comment from
No,
Steven.
no comment, but interesting theory. Okay, yeah.
But that could be like that's kind of maybe
Doing
the
the
mobs.
Brandon
The
Sanderson, like, oh,
oh,
okay.
but yeah, that could be like the mobs connection is they they're the ones that go do the tech retrieval and kind
Okay.
of feed. They're like the gray market between like uh
Mm, okay, okay.
the mob and the yeah.
Yeah.
So
I feel like you need a first story, a first mission, maybe, keep it a little bit smaller for now. Like we've
yeah,
thrown out some ideas for a larger scale conflict, but let's get like a first story set up, and then I think some other ideas would like naturally spring from that, especially
that
since it's designed to be serial. So I think it makes sense to just like nail down a few elements enough to get a book that 100,000 or so pages that like
100,000
that
pages. Okay,
or
Eric
sorry,
Sanderson.
100,000 words, right? Like
Yeah,
300, 400 pages or so. And this story gets established, kind of prove the concept, get the characters started, and then maybe from there you go. Because I mean, with this type of thing, I don't think you need to establish the larger plot,
yeah.
especially not in the first book. Maybe a few hints here and there, a few seeds that you like could pick up if you wanted to, even
The
if you
the
have some
larger
ideas.
the larger plot idea I have generally right now is that right now Earth isn't really like a cosmic um focus, like it's all pretty much it's kind of just like a joke on the sidelines of like, oh, the Earthlings
Hmm.
are, but like as
Okay.
but it would that would be what starts to change throughout the series is like Earth as a whole starts to get like noticed more and more by like the big cosmic entities are right out
Mm.
there. Like I think Earth, in keeping with like the Vegas thing, the idea is in my head at least is that Earth is kind of like maybe like a little kind of party planet for like aliens to go kind of vacation and see like, oh, here's the people that are like on the verge of breaking out, but they're not
Okay.
there yet, but they're pretty funny to go live because they like know enough, but not everything.
Uh-huh.
And then Vegas is kind of like the epicenter of that, of like, oh, we can go blend in Vegas because it's already
Yeah.
like such a melting pot place. And so
Uh-huh.
nobody's really going to notice the dog that doesn't quite look like a dog or the
Sure.
person that looks kind of strange or you know what I mean? Like,
Right, right, right.
yeah. So that's kind of like
Okay.
the bigger cause, like, and so you can get more cosmic wide as like some bigger cosmic forces start to notice Earth, and start to have plans for it. So kind of like a
Hmm.
Thanos thing of like okay,
Yeah.
now we're starting to be noticed.
Okay. Okay.
So I think I have enough of an idea there that can like lay a few hints here and there for
Yeah.
it, but like,
Yep. Yep.
yeah. So
Okay. So first adventure.
yeah,
What are we
first adventure.
doing? We need a focus. We need probably like one or two iconic locations
Yep.
in Vegas. And you honestly, for a first book, you probably want to choose one of the most iconic because, you want it to be splashy and like get people into the series. Like what's everyone in what is everyone going to recognize in Vegas? And there's enough different things that, you have a few things to choose from. And then let's introduce a specific faction, introduce a few characters, kind of get like, so he's not taking cases, the main character, but he's assigned to investigate or
Yeah.
like he's given he's given like a beat to patrol when things are starting to bubble over? Or like how does maybe that's the first question. Like how does the mission even get conceptualized? Like who's telling him, hey, go do this? Because in Dresden and Varys, he's taking cases, but
It's
that's
just
going to be
on him.
different here. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it would be just like some sort of commander, military commander. And I
Mm.
think largely the military kind of sees this program as like the military as a whole kind of sees it more as a joke, kind of like they don't really see the importance of it. Maybe some people don't
Okay.
even like
Okay.
believe that it exists. So
Yeah.
he probably has like a commander on base that is like that's giving him assignments, and then part of this assignment. And I want to come up with an idea of like, okay, he's doing his job, but he also has like something else that he wants to investigate because
Mm.
of like his backstory, and so like he's
Okay.
always kind of
Okay. Yeah. He's always
looking,
got his own personal angle to
yeah, kind
something.
of looking, using
Yeah.
these cases as a way to, and maybe
Yeah.
it is something like
And
he
the
had a
personal
parent,
angle, those could be shorter arcs for
right?
like 2 or 3 books or so, while the larger arc of like the bigger plot is unfolding.
Yeah, yeah. And so,
Mhm.
so anyway, I mean, something as simple as like we were talking about the sphere earlier, maybe they, and maybe that's not a good example because it might not quite be um as recognizable, although I think it has gotten
Mhm.
it did get a lot of buzz. But maybe they have like a small kind of like infinite energy reactor that like that's what powers it, and somebody
Okay.
stole it, so maybe it's on like just on backup, like a backup generator power until they get it back. So
Mm.
he's supposed to figure out who stole it. I don't, it can be something like that,
Okay.
um
Yeah,
so
I feel like you if you choose a type of story, then the location will kind of naturally make sense. Like the first thing that jumped out as me as a possibility, you don't need to go here, but you know, gambling, right? So
mhm.
let's say that a faction of the vampires is messing with the books on some, or they're like controlling machines, or they're siphoning off some money from one of the casinos somehow using magical means, or maybe they've like implanted some device or whatever. So they're ripping off one of the casinos, and the mob is involved in this because of course this means that they're ripping off some of the mob's money. So the vampires and the mob are going after each other. And I guess when we say vampires, it's kind of a substitute for whatever supernatural we want to throw in, and that's TBD. But then this, creates some friction between the humans and the right. So this is a situation that the government wants to shut down. So therefore, that would be an assignment for
Yeah, they need to
a
figure out who's
chaplain.
doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I like that, and that's what I was kind of thinking. It was like, okay, this was stolen, and so he needs to go find out who stole it,
Uh-huh.
and
Could be like one bad actor in the heist, in the stealing of the generator plotline, uh or in my suggestion of the gambling plotline, either one. You could have one bad actor from the vampire family, and so like the vampires are denying everything and the mob's all pissed off, but in reality it's just this one person, and
mm,
they've got a personal reason for this. Maybe this connects over to Chaplin's
his
personal
person.
story. Yeah, something like this.
I like it. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, some there's some sort of crime that happens. The local, for whatever reason, the technology, it's not like a muggle technology, for lack of a better word. So that's why the chaplain gets involved, or
Hmm. Hmm.
it's done through a super, like the person counting cards or whatever, or ripping off the casino is doing it through supernatural means,
Yeah.
if we go that route. So that's why he gets called in. He has to figure out who did it, so that there's not like an all out turf war. And then um and then he yeah, he has to figure it out, and he finds out something interesting about his personal backstory as he goes. I think that's a pretty good basic outline for it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying so around the same time that you posted this whole story, we had read the First Rivers of London book. which unfortunately I think we both felt was a little bit weaker urban fantasy. But I remember one thing that I struggled with in that series was it just seemed like the establishing of the supernatural, like they had these two courts of the different like river gods and goddesses and whatever. Like I didn't feel like that was established super well from the jump. And therefore, I mean, it was this whole mystery thing that he was following along with, and then the supernatural got sucked in. I feel like, I mean, if it was me, I would make sure to establish the supernatural court and then the mob, like establish these factions really well and have characters that are really memorable, that kind of like headline the
Like
interaction between,
A Marcone type
yeah,
character in
yeah.
the.
So is this going to be, I guess one question is this going to be a first person story?
Yeah, it'll
That's
be a.
often urban
I,
fantasy.
that's what I was thinking, but that does make
Yeah.
it hard to establish these other characters super well. But yeah,
It makes it a little hard, but at the same time, like this person's gonna have, he's gonna have contacts between the different groups, and those people need to be really well established, and they should not just be like caricatures of this is a vampire, this is a mobster, and then from there they kind of offer main character and readers a window into, their worlds, and then readers start to kind of, the curtain is slowly peeled back more and more.
I do like the idea, which I haven't finished the Penguin. I need to finish it, but I like the idea of he has like a connection with kind of a low to mid level person in the mob
Mm.
that like is trying to figure out. And I know that the Penguin's kind of further beyond this, but like is trying to figure out how brutal he needs to be. You know, he's like trying to maybe he's the kid of one of the of somebody higher up, and he's trying to figure out how he can
Oh,
be like
okay.
ethical in
Mm.
the mob, but like get sucked into doing worse and worse things. And
Okay.
so maybe he's trying to, yeah, I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Maybe they're like childhood friends or something, you know. Okay, I
Mm.
like this idea. So
I could
they're
like
like
that. Yeah, yeah. Childhood
they're like
friends and
childhood
one.
friends.
Yeah.
He's trying to keep his friend from going too far into like the depths of the mob, but
Uh-huh.
his friend's dad is like pretty.
Yeah, he's in a mob family. So
Yeah, yep.
what can you do? But he wants to protect him as much as he can, and he knows there's this brewing conflict between the two groups. Hmm. Okay. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So maybe he suspects the mob ripped off, like stole this like
Hmm.
an infinite power supply thing that they're using for the sphere. I don't know why I'm
Hmm.
gravitating towards that, but he suspects the mob. So
Sure.
he talks to his friend about it. His friend's like, I'll look into it, see what I can find out for you. And
Yeah.
then it ends up being, like you said, maybe not the mob, but a rogue actor in the mob.
Yeah.
And
I guess
his
the
friend
thing with
maybe
the
has to.
infinite power supply thing is like, is this just a MacGuffin?
Yeah, that's kind of what, yeah. And that's my like substitute right now is that it's a MacGuffin, you know? But I do think it would be cool now that I think about it, is that could suddenly kind of go missing at the ending, and that's like another thing in his arsenal is he has like
Mm.
this cool little infinite power thing that like maybe it can't like power a lot, but it can like he can hook it up to like specific like a
Okay.
specific thing.
So this is kind of his MO is he gets involved in the cases and
Yeah, I don't know.
he
Kind
feels
of go.
fine grabbing little artifacts here and there that
Yeah, maybe.
power him up a little bit.
That's
So maybe, I mean, if he's got that, then what's the point of even having the magic? Like maybe we simplify and it's just the magic technology.
I think, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that it's mostly going to be the magic technology, but I do want him to have like, because I think that that's an interesting angle to explore of like, he can do quote unquote like he can do magic sometimes, but not all the time. You know what I mean? So it's like, if he's like kind of where his faith is at, where his, like
Okay.
ability to touch the beyond is at.
Mm,
And I think that that could be like a cool thing to explore of like,
okay.
you know,
So we got to talk about what powers this technology or, or how does he use his other magical sources? But I mean, the nice thing about technology is you can just have it run out of charge
Yeah.
at an opportune time. Like I know Sanderson talked about this with Mistborn, is one of the nice things with the metals is it has a built-in limitation of, oh crap, like I've burned it all. Now
Yeah.
I'm in
Like
trouble.
maybe a suit. Like I'm trying to think of like Harry Dresden has his like trench coat. Pretty much all the wizards have their trench coats. I'm trying to think of like maybe he wears like a
Uh-huh.
three-piece suit all the time, or maybe he wears
Okay.
maybe it's like his I don't know. I'm
Man,
trying to
he can't wear
not
a
not
three-piece suit
not a
in
three-piece suit.
Vegas. Are you kidding me?
Well, that maybe that's why people are like, oh, he's weird. It's like 110 degrees out here and he's rocking it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well,
I
okay,
actually don't like that
sure.
idea because he's
Maybe
just like
he's got
a
some
dweeb.
cooling. He's got
But
some
he
cooling
yeah.
device or something.
That's
Okay.
the most real life thing is he has to choose whether he wants it to cool himself or if he wants it to be able to take a bullet. It can do one or the other. He has to
Yeah,
decide which he leaves on.
I like that. Yeah, I mean
Uh,
you gotta factor in the insane hotness of Vegas.
but yeah, something, I think something like that would be cool where he kind of goes around picking up artifacts and that's kind of what makes him
Mm,
powerful. But then like I'm thinking more the the faith or the soft magic system would be more like um if he needs to like heal someone, if he needs to figure out like maybe look into the future and see different possibilities, if he needs to um I don't know what are some other like it's more of like the softer things that magic systems typically do.
okay.
If he needs to I don't know, just
Yeah. I
stuff
mean, I
like
guess
that.
my
That
caution with that is you have to, I mean, you can follow Sanderson's laws as much as you want, but one of his laws is always you can only use magic. I don't remember exactly the terms, but the degree to which you can use magic to solve a problem is equal to the amount that you've explained to
right.
readers, like how the thing works. So you don't want him to just wave a hand and like, oh, I can see the future now, right? Like
Yeah, but like
that's not satisfying.
if he's like, oh, I'm gonna go, like I need to figure out what my next move is. I'm gonna go meditate and like
Sure.
and try and focus up on that. And then even when I do that, I can have an idea, but it's still like kind of squishy. You
Uh-huh.
know what I mean?
Typically, what authors do for this type of thing is they'll like establish whatever ability this is early on in a lower stakes situation and at a lower power level, and then they're kind of like messing around with it throughout the book, and then they pull it out again and like, oh, like we know this as a reader, we know that he's been working on it, and now it's like really important, so it works out.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. And yeah, something easy like maybe his first lead, he tries to like divine it.
Hmm.
Yeah, maybe not telling the future, but like divining things, like where you kind of just like, oh, now I know where I need to go. I don't know how I know that, but like I know that's where I need to go or whatever.
Mm.
Or
Okay.
that's kind of like the softer magic system. So like maybe he has to like pull himself back and be like, oh, I'm gonna go meditate. I'm gonna go center. I'm gonna go try and get myself closer to the beyond or whatever, so
Yeah.
I can
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
do some divining,
Mm.
something like that. Um, because I do want there
Okay.
to be a kind of a softer magic system, and then like the
Okay. Yeah.
harder
Yeah.
magic
Yeah.
system would be his tech, alien
Mm.
tech goodies that he
Okay. Yeah.
finds. Yeah,
Yeah. No, that can definitely work. You just have to set it both up
yeah.
appropriately. Hmm. Anything else that we missed from your notes or things you wanted to talk through?
Not really. Yeah, his little dog friend. It's gonna be kind of like a Bob type character, kind of just like always making snide,
Yeah.
witty remarks and
Yeah, we
maybe
need that. We
coming
need
in
some
clutch.
humor and
Yeah,
yeah, for sure these serialized urban fantasies like you gotta have a humor element.
yeah.
I think that's one thing that I maybe missed from Alex Verus a little bit. Like
It got pretty heavy.
yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of humor. Which
Yeah,
ironic because it's British and usually there's kind of that British humor, but maybe not every British person likes that. And I am just stereotypically, insulting all Brits.
yep. Um, love interest. I'm trying to figure out. I like the idea, and this was Amber from she's on our Discord, of having like another like religious leader in the area, um, kind of be a character. and I think that would be a cool and interesting love interest character of
Mm,
like a pastor or something,
okay.
of just like a traditional like maybe Protestant church or whatever, or is kind
So
of
this
his,
character has some knowledge into the supernatural.
yeah, some knowledge into the supernatural, but is much more like traditionally like religious,
Mm,
and the leader and like some sort of leader in their religious community,
okay.
and there's kind of a will they won't they dynamic going on.
Mm, okay.
Maybe it could be like, oh, I kind of like this idea where the mob guy, him and her all grew up like friends, and there's maybe some sort of like love triangle there, and uh
Mm,
you know, and maybe they've, I don't know. So now I'm just like totally spitballing there, but like maybe they grew up really close and now have kind of gone their separate ways, but they try and, you know, they're all
yeah,
still
yeah.
in
Okay.
Vegas. Yeah.
So got to try to break out of the friend zone. It's a big
Yeah.
conflict.
Yep. Yep. That's always the thing, man. The friend
Yeah,
zone.
that is tough. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a fun idea. Listeners, definitely like let us know your thoughts on the story, where Josh should take it. Bug him for a first draft, like coming soon, probably.
Hopefully. I was working on another book with my wife, and I still am kind of working on that one, but she kind of has to catch up a little bit. But I just kind of did that on Google Docs and just posted links there, like non-editing links, but so that people could
Mm,
comment. So that's probably how I'll do this one is just, post it on our Discord, and people can come on and make comments and
sweet.
recommend it both in Discord and on the actual document if you want. And yeah, that's I hope I can start writing it like if not this week, like this month. And yeah, I'm
Okay.
excited for it. So
Yeah, got to capitalize on this momentum.
exactly,
I can see the juices flowing.
it's flowing.
All right, if you want to join our Discord, as was mentioned a few times, you can do that. Episode or links to join will be below in the episode description. And until next time, we'll see you later, fantasy book fans.
Yep.